Welcome children. Today we are going to start a new topic, that is word problems, from our current chapter, addition and subtraction. Now before we move on with some questions, let us have a brief introduction on what word problems are. Word problems are few sentences describing a real life scenario where a problem needs to be solved by way of a mathematical calculation. As word problems often involve a narrative of some sort, they are occasionally also referred to as story problems and may vary in the amount of language used. Now let's move on with some questions. So students, here is our first question. That is saying Mrs. Malhotra baked 3,754 chocolate chips biscuits and 2,615 oats biscuits for a bake sale. How many biscuits did she bake altogether? Now children, in word problems or story sums, we are going to follow some steps. The first step is to understand the question. First of all, we will understand the question and then we will note down all the informations that are given in the questions. So the informations that are given are that the number of chocolate chips that Mrs. Malhotra made is equal to 3,754 and number of oat biscuits she made is equal to 2,615. Now the second step is to plan out our action by which we will be getting the answer. Here we will be taking the help of some bar model. Let's see how. Now here is a bar, green bar, which represents the amount 3,754. That is the number of chocolate chips. And here is a yellow bar which represents the amount 2,615, which is the number of oats biscuit. And our answer we will be getting by combining these two numbers. And by combining, we means that we have to add these numbers. So by adding these numbers, we will get the total biscuits Mrs. Malhotra made is equal to number of chocolate chips biscuit plus number of oat biscuits, which is equal to 3,754 plus 2,615, and that is 6,369. So she baked a total of 6,369 biscuits altogether. So this is how, with the help of bar model, we are going to visualize our question and we are going to get the answer. Now let's move to the. So here is our next question, which is saying a farmer picked 2,608 apples from his farm. 254 of these apples were rotten. How many of the apples picked were not rotten? So the first step is to find out the given information. The information which is given here is that the total number of apples picked by the farmer is 2,608 and number of apples found to be rotten is equal to 254. Now after understanding the question and gathering all the informations that are present, the second step is to plan out our action where we are going to take the help of bar models. So let's suppose the number of apples picked by the farmer is represented by this orange bar, which has a value of 2,608. And the number of apples found to be rotten is represented by this green bar, which has a value of 254. Now children, we can notice a portion in orange bar which is not covered by this green bar. Now we have to figure out this portion which is not covered by the green bar, and this will give us our required answer. And for this we have to subtract. So number of apples that were not rotten is equal to total number of apples minus number of apples rotten, which is 2608 minus 254. The answer is 2354. Hence, 2354 apples were picked that were not rotten. So children, first of all, we have understood the question. From there, we have gathered our information. From there, we have tried to visualize the question with the help of bar models, where we have represented two different colored bar models, bars with different numbers, and then we have come to our answer. For that, we have subtracted, and finally we got our answer. Now let's move to one more question. So here is our question 3, which is saying a bakery sold 1695 buns last week. It sold 210 more buns this week than last week. How many buns were sold altogether in both weeks? So the first step is to understand the question. After understanding, we got to know that there are two parts of the question, and we will be solving each part one by one. Let's first try to go for the first part. Before moving on to the first part, we have to gather all the information that are present that we will be requiring. So the information which is given in the first part is the number of buns sold last week, which is equal to 1695. Now let us represent this by this yellow bar, and this has a value of 1695. The next information which is given is the number of buns sold this week is equal to 210 more buns than last week. So if we represent this 210 with this green bar, and this has a value of 210, so the amount of buns sold this week we will get by combining these two numbers. So here we will be adding them, and after adding them the answer we are getting is 1905. So students, the number of buns which we added to get the number of buns sold on this week. Now here is our second part of the question, where this yellow bar is representing the number of buns sold last week, and that has a value of 1695. And we will be combining this yellow bar with a green bar which is representing the value 1905, which is the amount of buns sold this week. And by combining these two numbers, we will be getting the number of buns sold on both weeks. So now we will be adding them. That is number of buns sold on last week, which is 1695, plus number of buns sold on this week, which is 1905, and we are getting the answer 3600. Hence, number of buns sold altogether in both weeks is 3600. Now I'm repeating once again whatever we have done. The question has got two parts. In the first part, we calculated the number of buns sold on the last week, where we added 1695 with 210, and we got the answer 1905, which is the number of buns sold this week. And in the second part, we added the number of buns sold on the last week, which is 1695, and the numbers of buns sold on this week, which is 1905, and the answer we got is 3600. So students, hope you have understood the three questions that we have discussed here. Thank you.